What's up guys, Frantic here, and welcome to the Sunday Show, where I delve into the music I've been listening to this week in hopes that you will enjoy it. Let's just jump right in. This week we're going to discuss another concept album that I'm truly in love with, as is most concept albums, which the album is Circus Pandemonium by A.C.T, or A.C.T as I'm going to refer to them. A.C.T is a progressive metal band that I've only recently discovered around, probably I'd say mid-2016, so I'm fairly new to them, but they've been around for a little while now. And this album was the first album I had heard by them. So whenever I go to their Spotify profile and think, oh, I'm going to try and check out some of their other stuff, I tend to just only listen to this album because it's really, really good. Either way, A.C.T mixes a lot of different things into their music. Now, progressive metal, when you think of it, you might think of Dream Theater. It's kind of similar to that, but they don't do nearly as much in terms of musical prowess. They mix really polyrhythms with their musical expertise, and it also mixes with circus music in this album, kind of hinting by the name. So when analyzing Circus Pandemonium, I realized I might need more than I had. And what I mean by that is when I looked up the lyrics online, because I don't have a disc copy, I realized that the lyrics were including something that wasn't in the song. My guess is this is stuff that is in the booklet before the lyrics are written, the booklet in the front of the CD case. So when I was thinking about it and analyzing all this stuff, I realized this stuff was kind of important. So whenever that comes up, I will definitely try to mention it as I go through this. So we're going to jump in here. I'm going to go through kind of track by track and then give you my overall analysis of this album. The album starts after an instrumental intro with the song called The End, where we're introduced to Vertil, the alcoholic clown. He becomes very important later on in the story. We also get some other key members here, like Leo, the manager, and Louis the tamer. Now, I got these names because of certain tracks on the album, but Vertil actually comes from the booklet I had mentioned just previously. So if you're wondering where that is, that's what it is. But basically, it all describes chaos, everything falling apart. So it almost starts as the end. And I'll get to that in a minute, but it basically just discusses chaos. Vertil, the clown, decides that he's just going to run up into the circus and cause a shit ton of chaos. And it all just kind of ends abruptly. Louis lets out all of the animals, and it's just insanity. Everything's Falling is the next track, and that discusses a lot of the disdain that a lot of the actors and animals in the circus have. It also establishes the character, the Freak, although not in the song, but in the booklet again. So it really discusses Louis the Tamer saying, we need to get you out of here, as he's speaking to the Freak. And this really just describes the sinking ship that is the circus, and what we come to discover is that the manager is just very mean and very poor to everyone in the circus and treats them like animals, even though they're human beings like you or I. Manager's Wish, the next track, kind of reinforces the point I just mentioned, along with showing the manager's advertisement where he talks of supernatural things and all these crazy things you'll see in the circus. It's a really good advertisement if you ask me, but it also goes into show lots of different things that the manager says and does to control his performers in a very unethical way. So essentially he says stuff like, you can run, but I'll find you if I'll burn you if I won't obey. Those things are displayed here to really show you how bad the circus is. This gets us to our first track of the album that I would highly recommend you listen to if you don't want to go through the whole album, which is A Truly Gifted Man. This discusses Louis the Tamer, who I mentioned previously, who is a tamer of the animals, but he's not like a typical tamer where he just kind of, tells them what to do and teaches them. He speaks to them, at least that's how others perceive him. They say he's one of them, and even there's a line in the song where he says, it won't take me a year to tame this bear, it'll take only a few minutes, you humans don't understand. And it's a really bouncy, fun song. I would definitely recommend listening to it and also checking out their live version of it that they've done in the Trifles and Pandemonium DVD. You can check that out on their YouTube channel. Highly recommend watching that if you want to see them in action. Either way, this song is one of the best on the album, and I really, really like it. I think it's just one of the best ones. It has a very catchy chorus, lots of different things that are displayed, but really it just discusses Louis the Tamer. And it's important to know how good he is, because he becomes very relevant throughout the entire story. The next bit of the album is about 4 or 5 tracks that all amount to maybe 5 or 6 minutes, to be truly honest with you. And it's really around the Freak. And then the track Look at the Freak is one of the only ones with real lyrics. And it's basically just confrontation among the manager, some other circus performers, and the Freak, who the Freak seems to be this very unnatural human being. At least he's a human being. But there are lines like, you cut out the poor man's tongue, he's just a human, don't do these things to him. And the manager, and we get to the worst part of the album, not gonna lie, this part is really bad. They get to the part where the manager confronts this woman who's confronting him, essentially. She says, she's defending the Freak, essentially. And because they are from Sweden, they have accents that it doesn't seem like a real conversation anyone would ever have. So he kind of just says, who the hell do you think you are? I'm the boss around here. And it just uses words that you would expect to be a little more, what's the right word? Perverse, maybe, explicit. Because he's like, who the hell do you think you are? I'm the boss. you know, you shut up, and it's like, I feel like he'd be throwing a lot worse words around with how poorly he's been described. So it's a part in the album that is important, but it's the weakest part of the album because it just always takes me out of it when I listen to it. I often kind of just skip over this part. Next track, A Mother's Love, discusses one of the characters who we've kind of been seeing this all through the point of view from, but I haven't not exactly sure who this is, talking to their mother, who is clearly gone. She's dead. She acknowledges this, so it's kind of like a prayer to her. And pretty much what happens is you learn that this character has a father back at the circus, but he's like, you know, she says, love is not fair. I haven't told you who your father is. And he says, you know, there's no choice. I've escaped at this point, but I need to go back. That's what my father would do for me. I'm going to go do that. And to who this is, I'm not exactly sure, but I will come to that conclusion by the end of the video and let you know what I think. But let's keep going through the tracks. Next up is A Funniest Man Alive, and this is one of the other tracks on the album I would highly recommend you listen to. Funniest Man Alive talks about the clown, and it's a very stereotypical clown who's happy on the outside, but depressed on the inside. He's an alcoholic clown, and the song just kind of walks you through that. You know, it's a day-to-day routine that they have to pick him up off of his drunken stupor. You know, help him into his role as the clown, give him his own, you know, wig, and that's his issues. Is he's just this depressed alcoholic who wants nothing to do with this, but he's still there. So a great song, nonetheless. It does a lot of interesting instrumental pieces. It's very fun to listen to. I really like this track. Definitely a go-to track if you aren't looking to hear the whole album, but definitely check this one out before you move on. Next up is A Failed Escape Attempt, and I'm pretty sure this is the freak who is able to get out and escape. Someone's let him free, maybe Louis, it doesn't really say. But he basically runs off into the distance, kind of gets turned around, and essentially sees someone waving to him to come back, you know, like, come to me, I'll set you free. And because he's so dumb, he doesn't realize he's literally running back the direction he came from. And that's pretty much the whole song. But it's a good song nonetheless. That's just all you really take away from it by the end of it. Next up is The Lady in White, the first track I ever heard by A.C.T. A.C.T. You know, I would recommend this track to anybody who hasn't heard them, because this is the first one I heard. It's one of their most popular ones on Spotify. It is awesome. And this just really discusses a lady in white who's a trapeze artist who the manager is just like, we need to get more people to come see that this is really real. So they remove the net from under her just in case she were to fall or slip. And it raises the risk, and the whole entire track is about seeing her dance in the air, do all these movements that are beautiful, and there's no safety net. She could die at any moment, essentially. But the chorus is amazing. It's catchy as hell, and I love this song. This is absolutely one that I will listen to if I don't want to hear the whole album, which is a very rare occasion, but such a great song. Highly recommend it. Like I said, it was the first one I heard. It turned me on to the band and this album. Definitely listen to that if you don't want to hear any other song on this album. And lastly, we get Freak of Nature, which is just a track that kind of, in a light way, says, you know, you won't know the man behind the mask, I'm just a sad, broken man. And that's essentially, I believe, maybe talking about the freak because the name of the song, or it could be talking about the clown, you know, Virgil, or it could just be talking about the main character we've seen this whole thing through the eyes of. It's never made clear in this whole album who the main character is. It kind of just tells a story. In the end, the very second track on the album is essentially the end. It's everything is you know, come up to this point, and it's all collapsed. And it kind of just tells, you have to put the tracks in order. Now, I don't have an order for you, but what I can basically tell you is most of the album is teaching you and telling you what is happening in this circus, with whether it is the drunken alcoholic clown, whether it is the freak of nature who has his tongue cut out because he doesn't deserve to speak because he's such an animal, whether it's the lady who stands up to him, the manager. It's all of this culminating into the very end, which is actually the second track, or technically first if we skip the intro. And that is an interesting way to tell a story. You start at the beginning and work your way to there, kind of like you would in like a Quentin Tarantino film. But overall, I really enjoy the story. I've always enjoyed kind of like weird circus stories because I'm just weird like that. It's interesting. I really like listening to it and analyzing it. I've never really been able to truly come to grips with who the main character is. And I think, honestly, if the main character is anyone, it's just the son of the clown, possibly. Because the moment she says you have to go back to your father, it starts talking about the clown. So when I just put those two together, it seems like it makes a lot of sense that that could be it. We just never really learn out who this person is. He's just observing, and everything happens, and it ends after everyone tries to escape, and it all kind of just falls and crumbles. And there's nothing that's really told to us by the end of it what happens afterwards. So that would be my final conclusion about it. Overall, I do enjoy it, and I kept to keep analyzing it to truly figure out who is telling the story, who all the characters are. And like I said, I would definitely recommend it if you want a very interesting story to listen to and a very, very good album, instrumentally, musically, all of it. It's very great in this album. Alright guys, so that's where I'm going to end it today. I hope you liked this. This is one of the first times I've delved into an entire album like this instead of just giving you recommended tracks. So let me know what you think. I really enjoyed doing it like this. It was the first time I'd written up a script for this because I wanted to make sure I hit every point I needed to hit. Other than that, let me know what you guys have been listening to this week. I'm always interested to hear what did you think of the stuff I recommended 2 weeks ago, because there was not a Sunday show last week. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Always interested to know what you think. Beyond that, remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.